At the 2019 San Diego Comic-Con, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 4 slate was confirmed, and rather excitingly, it officially included both movies and Disney Plus TV shows. The movies included the likes of Thor: Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Black Widow, while the TV shows included the likes of WandaVision, Loki, Hawkeye, and What If. Inevitably, this has all got a lot of fans talking, and that talking invariably involves a lot of theorizing, including a possible connection to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. In this video, we'll be taking a look at a handful of some of the most interesting Phase 4 theories that will have you truly pumped for the next chapter in the MCU. Let's start with a theory about arguably the most intriguing title in Marvel's Phase 4 slate: Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's an equally intriguing theory, and it suggests that Benedict Cumberbatch's Sorcerer Supreme will, at some point, find himself in the universe of Sam Raimi's classic Spider-Man trilogy. The reasoning behind this theory is pretty simple. It's all because J.K. Simmons' J. Jonah Jameson teased the character way back in 2004's Spider-Man 2. You may recall the scene in question. Jameson and a member of the Daily Bugle staff were trying to come up with a name for Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus. When they mentioned the name, Doctor Strange was already taken, meaning a version of Strange must have at least made an appearance in that universe. And although the multiverse has already been mentioned in the MCU, not least in the first Doctor Strange movie, it appears that things will be kicked up a notch in the sequel. Specifically, and probably thanks to Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is set to unfold itself from the events of the Olsen-starring WandaVision on Disney+. Of course, if this all was to happen, Sony and Marvel Studios would have to come to another deal. In recent months, Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige has suggested the relationship between the two studios was strong enough to potentially result in a crossover between Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Tom Hardy's Venom. So anything's possible in that regard. Next up, we come to some theories about Taika Waititi's second directing job for Marvel Studios after Thor Ragnarok: Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, these aren't quite as precise as the Doctor Strange theory, as the reasoning behind them is far more speculative. The first concerns the movie's logo, which is very much in the style of the Masters of the Universe cartoon or the Golden Axe video game of the 1980s, which has led to fans theorizing that it'll be the second fun Thor movie. One particular theory is that Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, who has been confirmed as the MCU's first LGBT character, besides that one dude at the support group in Endgame, will be looking for her queen in the film, according to Thompson at least. And perhaps she'll get together with either Natalie Portman's Mighty Thor or Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. That would certainly be refreshing and would go down well with those fans who want the franchise to be more diverse. Fans are also theorizing that there will be appearances from the likes of Beta Ray Bill, a character who we saw on the Grandmaster's Tower as one of his former champions in Thor Ragnarok. Next up, we come to some theories about Disney Plus's WandaVision series, which promise to reunite Paul Bettany's Vision and Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch. But there is, of course, a rather large obstacle to overcome as far as that show's concerned: the fact that Vision is currently deceased. When Bruce Banner snapped his fingers in Endgame a year later, he wasn't resurrected along with the victims of the snap, one of whom was actually Scarlet Witch. So how can Vision return from the afterlife for WandaVision? Well, that's where these theories come in. Along with her brother Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch was granted powers courtesy of Hydra's experiments on her with the Mind Stone. Notably, Vision also came to life thanks to the Mind Stone, which fused Tony Stark's AI Jarvis with the vibranium body Ultron built to be his final form. Therefore, the first possible way in which Vision can be brought back to life is via Scarlet Witch's powers. She may just possess enough of the Mind Stone's innate power to act as a substitute for the Mind Stone itself. If she was to imbue Vision's forehead with the Mind Stone's energy, he may come back to life exactly as he was previously. Let's face it, she was powerful enough to destroy the Mind Stone, so there's no reason she shouldn't, in turn, be powerful enough to substitute for it. The last time Vision was seen was in Wakanda at the end of Infinity War, when his dark gray android body laid limp and lifeless on the ground. Scarlet Witch could travel to Wakanda and seek him out, and it could be the case that Letitia Wright Shuri has simply repaired him. While the Mind Stone no longer exists, Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner theorized that there was enough of Jarvis, Tony Stark, and elements of his own mind in the android for him to function independently. And given that Shuri had scanned the Mind Stone in Infinity War, she might have even figured out how to replicate it. Moreover, given how powerful the chaotic magic-wielding version of Scarlet Witch is in the comics, we might not have seen the full potential of Scarlet Witch in the MCU. She may have latent reality warping abilities that haven't yet been unleashed, and as such, she could possess the power to simply recreate Vision from scratch by conjuring him from nothing. But there's also a theory that Vision won't actually be alive at all. At Comic-Con, Elizabeth Olsen said WandaVision is gonna go weird. We're gonna get deep, we're gonna have lots of surprises. There's another theory that the pair living in domestic bliss during the baby boomer era could be a spin on both the classic Vision and the Scarlet Witch comics from the 80s and the critically acclaimed 2015 Vision comics written by Tom King. In the latter of those two series, Vision is the father of an android family, and the story explores the dark underbelly of his attempts to live a somewhat normal suburban life. If you substitute Scarlet Witch as Vision's wife and place them in the 1950s setting, possibly with them somehow having some children, then WandaVision instantly fulfills the promise of a weird and surprising series. Of course, if there is time travel in the show, it's pretty plausible that that's how Vision lives, i.e. Scarlet Witch goes to a time before his death and saves him. Going by the rules of time travel according to Avengers Endgame, that would create a new timeline, which would place the show in a different corner of the multiverse. Obviously, it's not exactly clear how Scarlet Witch could time travel, since she doesn't have the power to do it herself, but Bruce Banner had mastered the art at the end of Endgame, which was made clear when Steve Rogers was able to travel back in time to return the Infinity Stones. And Michael Douglas's Hank Pym and his family could have constructed another gateway to the quantum realm that she could potentially use to go back in time. A potential appearance by Banner, Pym, or other supporting MCU characters who could assist with time travel would also fulfill Kevin Feige's promise that there are some other characters from the MCU who you've met before who will appear in WandaVision. And speaking of other MCU characters appearing in WandaVision, there's one character who could link the show to another Phase 4 project, the aforementioned Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The character in question is, of course, Doctor Strange himself, who could guest star in the Disney Plus series to complement the fact that Scarlet Witch will be guest starring in his upcoming movie. Despite the recent lies by Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home, the multiverse is indeed a very real thing in the MCU, and that could mean that the Vision we see in WandaVision won't be the original version of the character, who might just remain dead, and instead a Vision from another dimension of the multiverse that meets the Scarlet Witch that we already know. Heck, there might even be a number of different versions of Vision, and quite possibly even different versions of Scarlet Witch, from different parts of the multiverse in the show. A theory stemming from that is that the traumatic results of meeting many different Visions could, in turn, unbalance and compromise Scarlet Witch's mental state, and, as a result, she may become more like the chaotic and dangerous version of the character depicted in the House of M story from the comics. That could lead from WandaVision into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, with Strange having to deal with the consequences of Scarlet Witch's reality-altering instability. Finally, we come to a couple of theories related to the MCU's upcoming Blade film and what it might mean for the franchise. Rather excitingly, Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali has been cast in the role of the Vampire Hunter, something the original Blade, Wesley Snipes, was quick to congratulate him for. Snipes had obviously been linked with reprising his role as Blade in the MCU for some time, even though he's now 57 years old. And since that now isn't the case, there's a theory he'll be given a different role in the franchise. The theory is that he'll be cast as the MCU's version of Whistler, Blade's father figure, mentor, and weaponsmith, a role previously played in the Blade trilogy by the legendary Chris Christopherson. That would undoubtedly be really cool, and a fitting, respectful way of getting Snipes involved in this new world of Blade, given his huge contribution to it, and indeed his contribution to the rise of modern comic book movies at all. Finally, there's a theory that Blade, as unlikely as it might seem, could be the platform from which the X-Men are introduced into the MCU. In fact, there's a couple of ways that could be the case. For one, Jubilee, who has actually appeared in past X-Men movies, has spent quite a lot of time as a vampire in the comic books, so having her appear in the Blade movies could be a way to introduce mutants as a concept into the franchise. But a more likely theory is the one that suggests Blade may feature Morlocks. The Morlocks are a group of mutants with physical mutations that mean they can't pass for human, so they opt to live underground. Now, given that Blade is part of the same world of subterranean creatures, it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for the Morlocks, who were recently seen in live action on Season 2 of The Gifted, to appear in the Daywalkers movie. And, if you recall, at Comic-Con, Kevin Feige said mutants, rather than X-Men, specifically were being considered for an imminent introduction into the MCU. So maybe he was hinting that the franchise would play around with a different mutant group before introducing the famous team. Like a lot of things in life, we'll just have to wait to find out more. What did you think of these MCU Phase 4 theories? Do you have any of your own? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Screen Rant for even more great videos just like this in your feed each and every day. Come on back soon, guys.